Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. Time for an update from the City of Maple Grove. Heidi Nelson, City Administrator, joining us. Welcome again, Heidi.
Thank you.
We've got a lot to talk about, a lot happening in the city during the summer months here, and a meeting that was about an hour and a half. So let's get right to the meeting.
Yeah.
First item we want to touch on is something that we've talked on earlier related to the council's goals. And this is a IS director for the city. Tell us what IS means and why this is so important.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, our council got together last February and kind of a strategic planning session and set out 5 goals for the city for the next couple of years. 2 of them were more related to kind of future development for the community and where we're going from a community perspective with the finishing out of the growth in Maple Grove. The other goals were really more kind of internal and what's happening with the organization. One of those goals focused around information systems. So much of what we do today at the city is driven by technology and how we interact with the community, whether it's from how you pay your bills to our website, social media, all those kinds of things, our police systems, our property record systems, those kinds of things.
Sure.
And so it's been some time since the city's had an IS director, so the council felt it was important to sort of prioritize this position and make sure that we had sort of somebody leading that effort. So we're moving forward with the recruitment for an IS director. We're recruiting internally.
Okay.
We have a number of folks internally playing different roles that have been doing great work, and so we wanted to provide that opportunity. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting that position filled and then continuing that good work and really kind of focusing on our, what's our strategy about IS and how are we deploying these different opportunities that we have before us. So
very good.
Yeah, good
All
step.
right. We'll keep you up to date on that. Another item on the consent agenda had to do with engineering. It's the Dayton roadway access. And this was one of the topics in the meeting that received quite a bit of discussion. So give us a little background and tell us about the discussion at the meeting.
Yeah, so very long-standing discussion about Territorial Road and the developments that are occurring kind of up on that Dayton-Maple Grove border up there. This agreement really kind of talks about how the relationship is going to work between the 2 cities for facilitating those 2 developments. The development that's on the Maple Grove side will gain its access through Dayton.
Right.
But we are providing water to that project, and so that water utility will be brought up Territorial Road. And with that, Territorial Road will be reconstructed kind of on an interim basis. So we're not building a full urban street section there, but we're doing more of an interim improvement.
Okay.
We anticipate at some time in the future that area would redevelop, and at that point we may want to consider potential realignment of that road, and we would consider a full urban section at that time.
Okay.
So running the water main up Territorial, kind of reduced the cost that got passed through to the residents for that interim improvement. That road hasn't been touched for a very, very long time.
Right.
It's in pretty poor shape, and so we want to make sure that that road, those interim improvements get constructed. I think at one point in the discussions there was some concern, about wanting to make sure that Dayton's planning for transportation improvements to serve their development needs within their community. And there was some discussion about Territorial Road, does it remain open, those kinds of things.
Right.
And so I think the agreement reflects, Maple Grove's acknowledgement that, Territorial Road will remain open.
Okay.
It'll remain to be a connection to Dayton. We certainly want to make sure that we work with Dayton to ensure that their transportation system is well developed and serves their development needs, and that it doesn't put additional pressure on Maple Grove streets. And so we'll be doing that through the comp plan process as we go forward here in the next 18 months. But closing a public street is a big deal. And Territorial Road is, I think, one of the first roads that went through this area, kind of one of the first ones from St. Paul to the northwest. So we certainly have an interest in seeing that road connection maintained as well. So this is kind of charting new territory out there with development up in this northwest quadrant. So yeah, certainly some interest in this one, but the council did pass that maintenance agreement, and we do see the development on the Maple Grove side, continuing to move forward.
Very good. And
Yep.
again, more discussion to happen, certainly with the comp plan
Yep.
process.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's move ahead to special business. Quite a few items under special business, and one was a very nice grant that came to the city courtesy of Centerpoint. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Centerpoint's just a great community partner. They provide these grants to public safety organizations in the community, and this was for $2,500. The recipient was the Maple Grove Police Department, and they are going to be utilizing those funds to provide rescue bags for patrol vehicles. And so what that is if the officers are having to go into a critical incident scene, so sort of a, and sort of what's on the national news today is an active shooter situation. These bags have all of the kind of medical supplies and equipment that they would need to respond in that kind of an incident, and it's all in one place, and they can grab that from the, from their patrol vehicle and get in there and help folks. So this was a nice way to put those funds to use and sort of address a current concern as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Other items under special business, as always, we go through some of the developments that are moving through the process. Tell us about a few that are making their way through.
Yes, we had a few public hearings on Monday night for several different projects that are moving through the development process. Cambridge Park, this is a townhome project at the kind of northwest corner of Lawndale and 30, kind of on the northwest side of the city. So this would be ordering those public improvements, so the public utilities, the streets, sewer, water, those types of things would get constructed, and this was the public hearing on that one. I'll skip over the Mirabel project because we'll combine that with the development side of it.
Very good.
But from a public hearing perspective, we also talked about the Water's Edge at Central Park First Edition project. This is sort of on the northeast corner of Central Park, a townhome project. We're going to kind of continue to see development completed out there over the next couple of years, up towards kind of between Central Park and Hemlock up there. So this one, again, was to kind of order those public improvements for the utilities in the streets.
Okay. Let's jump ahead to community development, and that'll take us back to Mirabel.
Yeah.
It was in two places on the agenda, and this is another topic that had some discussion from people that were there, from the public, mentioning some things about a development that happened years before. Give us a little background on what their concerns were and what we were talking about at the meeting. Yeah,
so the Mirabel project is a project that's being proposed by Pulte. It's kind of across the street from the community center there, right off of Weaver Lake Road. The neighborhood that came forward, this is a neighborhood out on kind of the west side of Maple Grove, Woodland Creek. They had expressed concerns about kind of some of the follow-through, I guess, with Pulte on trees, some grading issues. There were some issues with individual homes and whatnot. I think the council's concern was about, the trees and those kind of public issues. Clearly, we want to see, good projects being built in the city, and so they took those concerns as well. So the council heard testimony from a number of residents that live in that project, and what the decision was to table this action. So table both the public improvements as well as the development, sort of the land use side of it, the rezoning and PUD agreement, in order to give Pulte an opportunity to respond to some of those concerns. They did, there's a couple different streets in that neighborhood, and the trees are thriving better than this one street where many of these residents lived. So staff is going back to Pulte and seeing if there's something that we can work out to address those concerns. I think the council wants to be assured that they won't have a repeat of those kinds of situations as this next project moves forward. So we have, our intent is to bring this back on August 1st at the next council meeting, but we have a couple weeks here to kind of work that out with Pulte. We'll see where that lands, but you'll likely see this one coming back in August.
And there was a Pulte representative at the meeting as well, so they heard the discussion, and they also made some comments as well.
They did. They had an opportunity to hear that testimony and respond. They communicated an openness to responding to those concerns, and so we're going to take them up on that and see where we get, and we'll see this one come back for that project there off of Weaver Lake Road.
Final item from the council agenda, just a few updates from different departments, and one of the things that was mentioned by Heidi was special session. We've talked about it before. What's the latest? Are we hearing something? And if one does come to be, why is Maple Grove so interested?
So we have seen some news reports in the last week or so that the governor did meet with leadership, House and Senate leadership, to talk about the terms of a potential special session. So I think that's always good news if they're talking. We remain interested in the outcome of that, or the potential for a special session. As you recall, we have some TIF legislation that's sitting in the tax bill that we'd love to see passed. That if they just took action on the tax bill and didn't change anything about our legislation, we'd be just fine. So I know there were some issues with the tax bill in terms of some charitable gambling funding for the new stadium, and so they needed to tweak some of that. But we're hopeful that a tax bill would get passed and we'd be included in that. The other piece, of course, is we were trying to put together some funding for the completion of the 610 project.
Right.
By the end of this year, hopefully, we'll be connecting to 94.
Right.
And so, but there's a couple other segments that need to be constructed, so we were trying to put together some funding for that. We will be meeting with our representatives here in the local area in the next week or so to kind of think about how do we strategize about that for a potential special session. But we're hopeful that one will get called, and that, you know, there would be the big three come out of that with a tax bill and a transportation bill and a bonding bill. So we're kind of waiting to see, but we're staying on it. We're not going to let go until, you know, it's apparent that we need to wait till next year. But we're still hopeful that something will happen this year.
Very good. As we tape this on July 20th, we're on hold. We'll wait and see what happens.
Yes.
That's the council agenda. Let's move ahead to some other things happening around the city. And again, a lot going on as it is summertime. And number one, to recap, is Maple Grove Days. Just happened recently as we tape this. A little wet weather throughout some of the event, but give us a recap. Still a good turnout and a great event.
Yeah, very nice event. The event's put on by Maple Grove Community Organization. Deb Syrie leads that effort, but clearly a lot of collaboration with the city in terms of police, fire, public works, whatnot. So yeah, successful event, but we did have, you know, we had some impacts from the weather. The parade got a little damp on Thursday night, but still had a large turnout. And, you know, even as towards the end when it was raining more heavily, you know, people I think just decided to kind of embrace the rain and go with it. So that worked out. Saturday night, we had some, you know, interference with the fireworks plan. The decision was made to set the fireworks off a little bit early ahead of the storm. A lot of folks involved with that decision in terms of police and fire looking at the radar. We actually had a Hennepin County meteorologist down in our emergency operations center helping with sort of that weather and understanding exactly where the lightning was at that time, which was a little bit further to the west out near the Monticello Buffalo area. And so they did make the decision to go ahead early. And, you know, there were some folks that were disappointed in that, that it went early or that it should have been postponed or whatnot. You know, I think they made the best decision they could at the time with the information that they had. And so, you know, fireworks went off. If you were there a little bit early, you caught it, and they were beautiful. But hopefully we'll have wonderfully dry weather next year when it comes around again.
Let's hope for that. Well, congratulations again to the MGCO for another great event.
Yes.
Another event that went off very well was the Senior Health and Safety Fair. Quite a few people came out to that event. Give us a recap of that. Yeah,
they had about 150 seniors that they hosted at the community center that day. A full days of programs and events. We actually, about 10 of us from city staff had the opportunity to participate in a city panel that afternoon, and the participants in the afternoon session were able just to ask any questions that they wanted to about the city. So full range of questions about taxes and how our property values set to things about Central Park. Senior housing, of course, was a significant topic, or other development that's happening. What new restaurants or retailers are coming to town.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so we fielded a lot of questions, but it was a great opportunity to connect with over 150 seniors in our community. So nice event. Congratulations to the fire department. Marilyn Arland is involved in putting that on. She kind of leads that effort and did a very nice job with that event.
She had that handy little hand on a stick out there to test the fire detectors or smoke detectors.
Yeah,
so it was good to see her out there.
Exactly. Yeah,
so there's a little bit of everything, and I'm sure you could get more information about that through the community center. Speaking of weather, we had the storm that happened during July 5th, July 4th time time frame. Give us a little recap of that. The city was very involved, and I think pretty much buttoned everything up by now.
Yeah, I think most things are back to normal. We still were dealing with some cleanup kind of in around some trails and sort of, back of maybe not the front part of the park, but the back more wooded areas.
Okay.
We're still kind of dealing with some of that. I think everything's kind of back up and running. I know the yard waste site up off of Maple Grove Parkway was very, very busy for those couple of weeks, and I think still remains very busy up there. So just as a reminder that, the yard waste site is available to our residents free of charge. The material has to be cut up into certain size, and that information's on our website and whatnot. But and just a reminder, the access is now from the north right now because of the 610 construction. So I know that was a bit of a difficult piece as we had that storm come through. But hopefully we won't have additional weather events like that come through this season, and we won't need to rely on that so much. But I think everybody did a pretty good job of taking care of things out there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Photo contest, we've mentioned that a few times on the show, and as we're taping this, today is the last day to get photos in. And I understand the process went well. You tried something new online this year, and success.
Yeah, and so they had an online submission program so people could submit their photos digitally and then fill out the form online. So I think that was easier for folks than having to, get to City Hall or whatnot. And so the review and judging will take place in August, and then winners would be invited to a council meeting in September for recognition. And then we will utilize those pictures in our various publications, both online and in print throughout the year. So we really appreciate everybody who took the time to send in their pictures and capture all the beauty of Maple Grove.
Very good, and more to come. We'll try to get you some of those pictures here. Special event coming up tomorrow night, again, as we tape this, so on July 21st, Central Park. We've talked a lot about what's been happening there, and they're going to name the building. And this is a familiar name, Fino. Tell us about that.
The Fino Pavilion. So Tim Fino served as our Park and Recreation Board Chair for 35 years. So that's a pretty long-standing service record there, and just did incredible work. So anywhere you look around the Park and Recreation system of Maple Grove, I think Tim has his fingerprints all over it. So only fitting that this pavilion would carry his name. So that dedication will be Thursday night at 6 o'clock at the pavilion. It's going to be a hot one. So we'll probably all be inside for most of it. But I just congratulations to Tim and his great work. And this will be there for his legacy.
So as you go there, if you see that name in the future, you know what it means.
Yes.
Let's talk about Town Green, hop across the street. The events are coming fast and furious, but again, always keep an eye on the weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so tomorrow, being Thursday, is forecast to be probably the hottest day of the summer, with heat indexes up to 115 degrees. We are looking at all of our events at the city for tomorrow. Certainly Park and Rec has some thresholds. Typically they start to cancel events when the heat index is above 105. So we have a lot of things going on tomorrow with the event at the Town Green during the day for the kids' entertainment, and then we have the farmers market, those kinds of things. We've already pulled the plug on the farmers market for tomorrow. We had a number of our vendors that said we're not coming. A lot of them have to bring with freezer equipment, generators, those kinds of things. It's in a parking lot, and some of the farmers just felt like trying to get the harvest done in this heat and then be out there on the parking lot just wasn't a good plan. They are anticipating, Hennepin County is predicting, 115 for that heat index tomorrow. So we'll get communications out about that. We'll be back next Thursday when it's really hopefully a lot cooler, and hopefully we'll have more bountiful harvest that day. So we're paying attention to that. But other events coming up at the Town Green, Monday, July 25th, Salsa Brosa. That's a salsa music, and they have free dance lessons at 6:30 in advance if you want to do that. And then Wednesday, July 27th, Shakedown is folk rock, American 60s and today music. And then Friday, July 22, the movie there is Finding Nemo that night. So some fun events coming up.
All right, so get out to Town Green and go to the city's website to find out more about other events. You mentioned the market. Again, for the 21st of July, it is canceled because of the hot weather coming, but it is again on every Thursday. But let's talk about a special event coming up on August August 4th. Quite an honor for the market. You've got some special things going on with a bigger level, right? The state level?
Yeah, so the Minnesota Department of Ag has selected the Maple Groves Farmers Market as the site to kick off its Minnesota's annual celebration of the National Farmers Market. So it's kind of Farmers Market Month.
Very good.
So they'll be kind of bringing all of those events to Maple Grove. Former Olympian Carrie Tolson will be there to participate in some of those events. So we're really excited about that. Probably some dignitaries there as well. 3:30 in the afternoon on that Thursday, August 4th, will be the event. So we invite everybody to come out. Should be some fun activities and whatnot, and some good recognition for the market here in town.
Yeah, congratulations to the market, and a little statistical recap so far of the market. It's been 5 weeks so far, and you're seeing a lot of kids come out, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So they've had over 1,100 Pop Club visits as part of the kids program, and this is where the kids get a token to buy $2 worth of produce. And so, again, this is an effort to get kids thinking about what they want to get and eating fruits and vegetables, maybe trying something new. So really, good work that they're doing out there. That's a big number of kids that we're interacting with every week.
That is fantastic. All right, city's website again, maplegrovemn.gov to find out more about that and other events happening with the market. Well, let's talk about National Night Out coming up on August 2nd. And before we get to that, though, just some things have been happening in the city of Maple Grove, you noticed, related to the police department and some extra pats on the back, if you will. Tell us what you've seen and how that might carry over to National Night Out.
Sure. So certainly a difficult time here in Minnesota and then across the nation for the law enforcement community. And we are, here in Maple Grove really paying attention to those issues. We try to be as prepared as we can to respond. I think any community feels that vulnerable to, incidents occurring in the community that we'd need to respond to. But I think, what I take comfort in is the philosophy of Chief Warner and the department is really about community engagement and treating people with respect, and that's how they deploy their work out in the field. So, the police department has received a lot of cards and letters and notes and lots of cookies and donuts and cakes and things that people are in flowers being sent to the department. I think in an effort to recognize that we ask a lot of our law enforcement officers out there. We ask a lot of our fire department folks, and oftentimes they're kind of that last line of defense against some of our most difficult issues. And so I think they should take some comfort in that the community supports them. And National Night Out is an important event every year, but probably this year more than ever, very important that we get out and connect with our neighbors and connect with the city and support one another, just to reinforce the good work that we're trying to do out there, and make everybody feel a little bit safer in their neighborhood.
So let's talk more about some of the particulars if you're getting ready for National Night Out. Many people getting their block party together, but things start earlier in Maple Grove that day from 11 to 1 over at the Lions Pavilion by the Community Center. You've got some free food and lots of other stuff. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so from 11 to 1 at the Community Center, the day of National Night Out, earlier in the day on August 2nd, the police department hosts a party over there, and fire department's involved as well, and they have free food during the day and lots of activities for the kids, and we encourage everybody to come out and participate. And then in the evening, of course, the groups will all gather at City Hall before we head out to the parties, and then we head out about 6 o'clock and make the rounds to all of the parties. I was at the block captain meeting last evening. I think we have almost 130 parties this year, which is great, and they're, of course, are wanting to have it bigger and better every year, and more people get engaged. And I do think people will come out this year. I think it's kind of a different year, and more important than ever.
So Officer Strigi is the one you can get in touch with through the police department. And again, I think there's still time, if you're watching this in one of the early airings, that you can still get your block party registered and get in on that count. And I think even the latest number I heard was maybe 150 to 160. So
you heard a bigger number.
It's getting up there closer to what it was last year. And of course, they're looking to beat that. So I think it's going to happen. So again, August 2nd is the night. And again, the fun happens in the afternoon, 11 to 1 at the Community Center, and then out throughout the area in the evening. Elections coming up. August 9th is the primary election. You've got a little bit of information here. I know judges have been in, and how's the training going so far?
I think it's going well. We're making that transition this year to the e-poll books.
Right.
So when people come to the poll, they'll have a different experience versus, seeing the election judges sort of page through these paper ledgers of registered voters. We'll be doing that on an iPad, and people will check in that way. So kind of changes that interface there, and the judges are trying to get more comfortable with that.
Sure.
So our new city clerk, Amy Diedel's been working with our election judges to get that training underway. It's all set up down in the EOC for that. So that's moving along nicely. We are doing absentee voting at City Hall. You can come in and absentee vote during regular office hours. They do have, I think it's August 6th, they have a Saturday where they'll be open for absentee voting at City Hall.
Okay.
That's coming up as well. Information on our website about that to confirm that.
Good.
Yeah, and then, as you know, the changes from the legislature this year, 1 week prior, when we get into the general election, 1 week prior, you'll be able to absentee vote and feed your ballot right into the counter. So
Right.
it's kind of, it's almost like an early voting type system. We don't really call it that yet. It's
Right.
more no excuse absentee voting, but I think it simplifies the process, certainly for the city,
Exactly.
in terms of the kind of the elaborate envelope process that was kind of a difficulty last year, or last time we had a general election. So yeah, moving right forward to
Very
the
good.
election. We do have one new polling place
Right.
this year, and that's at Central Park, precinct number 24 that was added to recognize some of the population growth on that east side. So if you live over there, kind of pay attention for that notice in the mail that tells you where you need to go to vote, potentially at Central Park.
Very good.
Yep.
Couple final items here. Firefighters are needed in the city of Maple Grove, and we've got a deadline coming up of August 5th. Tell us a little bit about that need and what type of training is provided along with that.
Yeah, so unlike, or similar to other communities, we are really wanting to get more firefighters on board. Every community is struggling a little bit to fill those spaces. I think as people, and particularly from a daytime response,
Right.
If you work outside the area but you live in Maple Grove, how, and do people have time to provide that kind of service? But we really encourage people to look into it. We provide all the training, no experience is necessary.
Okay.
So you can come in without any background in fire or EMS, anything like that, and we will bring you all the way through the training, and that's all paid for and provided. So they're paid on call, and so they respond when called, and they, there's certain percentages of calls that you have to meet, but
Okay.
I think they try to be flexible with folks in terms of that as well. So we really encourage, if people are on the fence about it, just thinking about it as a community service opportunity, a way to give back to their community. Great camaraderie in the fire department.
bet.
They have some fun events to get involved with too. So hopefully people will give it some consideration.
And again, August 5th is the deadline for
Yep.
the applications now, get you into that next class and the next process of the training.
Yep.
Final note we want to make, if you're ever interested in finding out more about police operations in the city, this is a great way to do it. The Citizens Police Academy is coming up once again. Give us an overview. What is this academy all about? Why does the city host something like this?
Yeah, so the Citizen Police Academy, it's an 11-week program, and they meet on Tuesday evenings, 6:30 to 9:30, and they kind of move the location around town. This year's Citizens Police Academy starts on September 27th and runs through about the middle of December. So it's free of charge to Maple Grove residents, students and business owners, and it's a program that's focused on people who want to learn more about the law enforcement profession and then the criminal justice system. So at each week they cover a different area of the work that they do, and gives people a really great insight to the law enforcement world and criminal justice. So we really encourage people to get out. I know a lot of folks have they've gone through this program if they're maybe interested in serving on a board or commission or potentially city council.
Right.
So it's a great way to get kind of really good education about some of the work that we do at the city, and so we encourage people to consider it.
Yeah, and again, an important time to do that, to understand a little bit more about what the police departments do. Application deadline for this is September 15th. The size of the classes is limited, so make sure you get your reservation in early. You need to, again, be a Maple Grove resident, at least 16, and a student or business representative, so lots of information there on the city's website.
Yep.
Heidi, anything else to cover today, or I think we have done it?
I
well,
think
one
we have-
more.
oh.
Oh, State Fair. How could we forget the
Can't
State
forget
Fair?
the State Fair.
You've got some buses that are ready for people.
Yeah, so we're going to be providing bus service to the State Fair on the weekends again
Okay.
from the Maple Grove Transit Facility right there at Arbor Lakes. The buses will operate every 30 minutes from 8 a.m. till midnight. The parking is free, of course, there at the
Very
Transit
good.
Center, so that's nice. And then the round trip fare is only $5, so that's pretty cheap and takes a lot of the trouble out of getting
Yes,
to and fro
it
the fair.
does.
Children under age 4 are free, so that's another nice piece. And of course the express service is wheelchair accessible as well. So there, have some accessibility benefits as well. So
Very
we
good.
encourage people to think about it.
All right, it's only a month away,
I
so
know.
get ready for the fair. Heidi, thank you very much for your
You're
time
welcome.
again today. Let's leave you with the next council date. It is August 1st, and you see the information on the screen regarding that meeting, city's phone number, and also on the top, the city's website. All that information we talked about in the program today, you can find it there at the city's website. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.